Part 104. The Wangyu Dynasty's palace had been reduced to a tourist attraction place. Yi Yang was about to get up and leave when he thought about his purpose for coming today, and said with a smile, "Your Majesty, do you want to make money? I have a good idea. Isn't the palace of the Wangyu Dynasty empty now? Why don't we turn the palace of the Wangyu Dynasty into a tourist attraction for tourists to visit?" Yi Yang knows that the annual income of tourist attractions is very high. Objectively, if the palace of the Wangyu Dynasty was made public, he believed that there would definitely be a lot of rich people who would pay to visit the palace where Emperor Wangyu once lived. What is a tourist attraction? What is a tourist? Suddenly hearing so many new terms, Jun Yi said that he really didn't understand. Tourist attractions refer to areas with tourism resources and supporting infrastructure and entertainment facilities built for them that can meet tourism needs such as entertainment, food, household, transportation, shopping, and tourism. At that time, we will put the Wangyu Dynasty's palace is open to the public, and people can buy tickets to enter the palace of the Wangyu Dynasty, and then sell some snacks inside, which will definitely make a lot of money. Yi Yang thought of milk tea, cotton candy and various snacks. It seems that they have seen the silver of the white flowers flowing into their pockets. Jun Yi put his head on Yi Yang's shoulder and asked softly, "What kind of world is the world you live in? Why can you always think of these unheard of things easily?" He was very curious. What kind of world is it? Can let a person know so much knowledge? It's a colorful world, although there are many things that we can't create now in here. But I believe that our descendants will always slowly create the same things in the world I live in. Yi Yang firmly believes that as long as today's children start to learn and lead them to understand science, the things in his world will be reproduced in this world in a few hundred years at most. Although he couldn't see it at that time, he believed that his name would leave a glorious page in history. "I really want to visit your world." Jun Yi was really curious about what kind of magical world Yi Yang lived in. "Forget it, even if you really have a chance to go. I'm afraid you won't be used to the laws and regulations of our world." Yi Yang thought that if Jun Yi really had the opportunity to go to his world and see the high-speed trains, planes and so on in his world, he would be speechless for sure. "If you say that, I am more curious about what your world looks like. It just so happens that today's government affairs are almost dealt with. Why don't you tell me what your world looks like?" Yi Yang thought for a day. "It's okay, so I turned on the chat mode. From TV to movies, from roads to cars, from planes to rockets." And Prince Junhua in Wangyu City suddenly received Jun Yi's biography of flying pigeons and thought it was something big that happened in the Holy City, and I was so frightened that I panicked. However, when he unfolded the note and looked at the words on it, he was blindfolded. "What's the matter, Lord?" The guard beside him saw that Junhua was blindfolded, and thought that something had happened in the Holy City. After all, the Wangyu Dynasty has only been unified now, and there will definitely be many aristocratic families who want to make trouble and disrupt the Holy Dynasty when the current situation is unstable. Junhua read it several times and was sure that he was not mistaken, so he turned to look at the guard beside him, and said with a smile, "If Nan Yeshwen from Quanzhou knew about this, his coffin lid would definitely be covered and would be overturned by him." "What?" The guard Yun Yi obviously didn't understand Junhua's words. Junhua shook his head and said with a smile, "Emperor brother wants this prince to open up Wangyu's palace so that all the people can visit." Yun Yi was stunned for a moment, and asked uncertainty, "Open up the Wangyu palace? Why?" He didn't understand. Why should the palace be opened? "It's totally unnecessary. Because we want to make money." Junhua had to admire the person who made this opinion. When the Wangyu Palace was opened, many wealthy businessmen and tycoons would definitely come here to visit the palace where the Wangyu Emperor once lived. How much is the right amount to charge for this ticket? 5-2? Will it be too little? 12? Those rich businessmen will definitely be too few. Or, 52? It seems almost there. So, Prince Junhua, who had decided a good price by himself, hurriedly asked his subordinates to spread the news and ask those wealthy businessmen to send money to visit the palace where Nan Yeshwen once lived. As soon as the news was spread, the entire Wangyu capital was shocked, especially the big clans who had been sincere in the Wangyu dynasty, trembling with anger. This Holy Dynasty is going too far. To insult our Wangyu dynasty like this. An old man with a gray beard learned about this, and his beard was shaking with anger. The maids and servants around listened to it as if they didn't hear it, silently bowing their heads and slandering in their hearts. What an insult! For them, what they prefer is the current Holy Dynasty, because although they are slaves, their children can read. And as long as they read, they may turn over, so they are more inclined to the Holy Dynasty. The wealthy businessmen who had been oppressed enough by the officials were so happy when they learned that the palace was open, as if they had won the grand prize. And they all took their families to the main entrance of the palace to queue up to buy tickets, regardless of the 50 taels of ticket fees. What, 50 taels of silver are expensive? It's not expensive. It's not too cost-effective to see the palace where Nan Yeshwen once lived for this amount of money. In the evening, Junhua sat behind the desk to settle today's earnings. When he looked at the final count, he was shocked beyond measure. More than 100,000 taels of silver. Is this not too scary? It was 10 days after Jun Yi received Junhua's letter from the flying pigeons. He saw that the first day's revenue of the first tourist attraction in history was as high as more than 100,000 taels of silver. He nodded with satisfaction, and couldn't help but praise Yi Yang. His Yi Yang had a way to easily make a small profit of more than 100,000 taels of silver. Yi Yang learned that Prince Junhua had sold the tickets at a sky-high price of 50 taels. And he almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Is Prince Junhua only doing business for the rich? 50 taels of silver, even if people suffer for a lifetime. They would not be willing to spend so much money to buy a ticket. The problem is that the price has already been set. If they cut the price rashly, it will definitely make the wealthy businessmen who paid sky-high prices to buy tickets dissatisfied. If the tourist attractions are opened again, no one will go there. This is simply a one-off business, alas, waste. When he heard that he made more than 100,000 taels of silver in a day, Yi Yang secretly converted the money of his era. And learned that he made more than 10 million in a day, Yi Yang shut up. Because he really underestimated the consumption level of people in this dynasty. More than 10 million a day. It's scary to think about it. When the treasury had money, Jun Yi began to buy grain in a big way. For a time, families with surplus grain in the country sold old grain one after another, which gradually filled the treasury. The people are also busy planting wheat, hoping that this year will not snow like last year, otherwise they will not be able to withstand such a blow. And the small countries around the Holy Dynasty received the same letter. Looking at the strong letters between the lines, some slammed the table in anger, and some folded it silently. Falling into deep contemplation, the Meng Yan Kingdom has always been a small country attached to the Holy Dynasty. Before, it had the chance to survive with various tributes. Now, seeing the ambition of the Holy Dynasty, it wants to annex all the countries in one go. How can this be endured? Your Majesty, this Holy Dynasty has only captured the Wangyu Dynasty. And before the situation is stable, they dare to let us all submit to the Holy Dynasty. The holy emperor of this holy dynasty has too much appetite, and he wants to swallow all of our countries in one go. Don't be afraid to blow him up. The prime minister of Meng Yan Kingdom had an angry look on his face. He never imagined that the holy emperor would be so greedy and wanted to unify this continent in one breath. The king of Meng Yan country is a middle-aged man in his 40s. He has a sullen face and is caught in a tangle. He really doesn't want to submit to the Holy Dynasty, but when he thinks of the magical bomb of the Holy Dynasty, his heart trembles with fear. Because once the war begins, they have no way out. If you win, forget it, this chance is too slim, and it's a waste of time to say it. But if they lose, not only will he not survive, but even his relatives will not survive. Because whether the Holy Dynasty attacked the nomadic dynasty, the Jinghe Kingdom, or the Wangyu Dynasty, all the royal family members of these three dynasties were slaughtered cleanly. Now the letter of the Holy Dynasty clearly states that as long as they surrender, all members of the royal family can survive, and they will be rewarded with fiefs, so that they can have their children and grandchildren around their knees and enjoy family happiness. On the one hand, he lived freely in the fief, and on the other hand, he fought to the death with the Holy Dynasty, and then he was unlucky when he lost, and waited obediently to die. This. As long as the mind is normal, they will choose to submit to the Holy Dynasty. It's just, seeing that all the ministers below are full of righteous indignation and denounce the Holy Dynasty. If he said that he would submit to the Holy Dynasty, would he appear cowardly? Just when he was struggling, a minister came out and said, "Your Majesty, I have an idea." "What idea?" The minister replied respectfully, "Your Majesty, we can connect with all the small countries around us, and then cooperate with the Ri Yao dynasty to conquer the unstable Holy Dynasty." When the other ministers heard this, they all nodded, saying that this is a good idea. If all the surrounding small countries are allied with the Ri Yao dynasty, there may be a chance to capture the Holy Dynasty. After the prime minister who spoke first listened, a pair of turbid old eyes lit up. "Your Majesty, this minister thinks that Lord Hong's idea is a good idea. Now that the Holy Dynasty has captured the Wangyu Dynasty, the situation is unstable. If we all resist, the Holy Dynasty will definitely be torn apart. When we divide the kingdom of the Holy Dynasty, maybe we can transform from a small country into a powerful country. Moreover, the Ri Yao dynasty will definitely not be willing to surrender to the Holy Dynasty. If we form an alliance with the Ri Yao dynasty, the Ri Yao dynasty will definitely agree." The more I thought about it, the more I felt that this method was feasible. So I quickly arranged for messengers to go to neighboring countries to discuss alliance matters. The other small countries are also unwilling to submit to them. Now that they hear that they have a way to fight against the Holy Dynasty, they are all excited and geared up to start the alliance.